I don't know what that pop up was. Ho ho ho! Merry December 19th, 2025. Yeah, we're less than a week away from Christmas at this point. Whoa, that is that's wacky. Already so close to Christmas. Already in December somehow. I, I don't know. That just doesn't compute with me. Um, I guess a little heads up before I begin. I see there's some people in the chat already. Um, I don't know. It's not certain, but I might have to end the stream early because I might have things to do a little later. Um, Depends on when I have to go out. I know it's not just getting groceries or anything like that. It's a little bit more important than that. I don't know yet. I could end the stream early or not. We'll see. But regardless, just wanted to put that little heads up right away at the start of the stream. Anyway, three people here. What did you ask for Christmas? Did you did you give Santa your list already? Did you sit on his lap yet and tell him what you want? I find that a weird concept now as an adult, taking your kid to sit on some old man's lap. Whatever. Hello, EcoPunk. How you doing? Hello, Robert. How are you doing? Feels like just yesterday was January 1st. Well, that's how every year feels for me, honestly. It just zooms by. Like seemingly it feels like one year starts and then the next minute the year finishes. It's fucking wild to me. I wonder if there was a phobia specifically for the fear of mall stores slash store Santas. Maybe. I mean, there's so many fucking phobias out there. A lot of pretty obscure phobias you think wouldn't even exist. So maybe there is that. Someone out there does have that fear, or multiple people out there have that fear, I'm sure. I don't know. I think it's a pretty natural fear for a child, especially to, sit on some stranger old man's lap. No, but I used to like doing that. Going to see a mall Santa or a store Santa. There was a shopping center that's like I don't know, 20-minute drive from my house that did it every year. Probably still does it. I'm sure, but obviously haven't done that in I don't know, fucking 14, 13 years, something like that. But yeah, I used to like going to see Santa, the mall Santa, and giving him my list. Well, I used to actually be kind of apprehensive when giving the guy um my list because social anxiety. This is a problem for me even back then. I was like, what if Santa thinks my list is stupid? What if he casts judgment on me somehow over what I want for Christmas? And of course, none of them ever did that, but still, I had that fear in the back of my head. Even back then, I suffered with that as a child. I won't really be having a Christmas this year as my mom will be going to rehab for a week. Her cancer surgery went well though. Oh yeah, your mom has cancer. Yeah, that's that. I'm glad her surgery went well. I hope she remains well. It must be tough. My mom has been going through her share of health struggles as well. Nothing nearly as serious as cancer, but more related to like, her stomach. She has fatty liver and she has to watch her diet. She's a big hypochondriac when it comes to her health, though. I mean, better to be overcautious regarding your health than to not care at all, of course. But she every time she has like a doctor's appointment or she's checked out in some kind of way, she always assumes the worst. Oh, what if I have cancer? What if this sensation I feel in my stomach is actually stomach cancer? What if I have some incurable disease? And I'm like, Well, we'll see what the doctor says. Wait until you, are checked out. Wait until you hear the results, and then listen to whatever the doctor recommends. Adhere to any treatment the doctor recommends, and that's all you can really do. But then again, I've never suffered any health issues of the sort, or had to really go to the hospital for anything, so I don't really know what it's like. And my mother has carpal tunnel, and a few years ago, she had an issue with her thyroid, which is where when she found out she had carpal tunnel. Um, a few years ago, she had to go to the hospital. She was already feeling under the weather. She took some time off from work that week, to because she wasn't feeling well, and she had a doctor's appointment scheduled. And then one morning, she woke up with a numb hand, and she thought, for all she knew, she was having a heart attack. And then she went to the hospital, and I woke up, and my uncle told me my mother went to the hospital, and I was like panicking for like an hour or two, thinking she might have had a heart attack. Horrible, horrible day. But again, it ended up being some thyroid issue she had, and she found out she had carpal tunnel, and ended up not being so bad, thank God. And knock on wood, she remains healthy. I mean, there's literally a phobia about somewhere, somehow a duck watching you. So I mean, if you tell me if you tell me, like, the most outlandish, hard to believe phobias, I probably believe you that they exist. I remember my uncle used to watch on YouTube Maury segments, Maury Povich show, uh, some daytime trash TV, pretty much. He is he did these segments. I don't know if that show's still going. Maybe it still is, and they're still doing these segments. I have no fucking idea. But he did do these segments where he would have people on with these, pretty obscure, ridiculous on the outside phobias. Some fucking pop up. I don't know what the fuck this is. Um, what was I saying? Oh yeah, he would have people on with these, strange phobias that, people on the outside not suffering with these phobias would probably find ridiculous, and pretty much humiliate these people. Like there was one guy that was afraid of peaches, or some other person who was afraid of soap or something. I don't fucking remember exactly. And they bring out people with, like, peaches and whatever else the person is afraid of, and have them like scream and run away, and pretty much humiliate them on TV. Yeah, don't find that particularly entertaining. Really hope 2026 is better. Screw 2025. 2025. I mean, yeah, not a great year, admittedly, but I don't think it was horrible. Compared to 2024, this year this year has been amazing. But no, yeah, 2025 was just okay. Didn't really, not really a very noteworthy year for me. Nothing really too much has gone on for me this year, which I'm not complaining too much. I'd rather a year be low key and uninteresting than absolutely horrible almost throughout, like last year was. Jesus. But yeah, 2025 will be a year that just, it'll be a year that exists when I look back at it, more than likely. I mean, January, February, and March were bittersweet, to be honest. What made those months specifically bittersweet? I do like January, February, and March, the first 3 months of the year. I like April too. But come to think of it, there's really no month that I outright despise. But I always like the vibe of, early in the year, a new year has begun and all that. And hey, my birthday is in March. I don't really think about that much though. I don't put too much. I'm not one to really go crazy for my birthday and tell everyone, "Oh, it's my birthday," whenever it's my birthday. You know, I've never been one. Well, at least not since I was a kid. I've never been one to make a big deal over my birthday. I used to when I was in like elementary school. Every time it would be March 20th, I would tell everyone, "Oh, it's my birthday today." I just wanted to hear those happy birthdays and maybe even get a gift from someone, which very rarely happened. 2025 seems to have been a pretty lousy year for a ton of people. That not that I'm an exception. Um, Again, for me, 2025 wasn't lousy. I mean, in terms of my personal life, I know when you look at current events, this year has been pretty fucking dismal. Then again, it's the fucking case for every year. You look at the news, and all you hear is just depressing news story after depressing news story, negative news story after negative news story. If you base your year solely on what's in the news and what's going on in current events, then yeah, every year is going to be pretty fucking miserable, unfortunately. But when it comes to my personal life, you know, there hasn't been tragedy after tragedy like last year. So I'd say, that's a very low bar, I know, but I'd still say that makes 2025 a hell of a lot better than 2024 was. Again, I prefer a nothing burger, uneventful year as opposed to a year where like nonstop tragedy happens. Like so many bad things stacked on top of each other in 2024. Charlie's death, the death of a family member, the death of an online friend, my uncle's stroke. Those are the only things. Those are the things I can name off the top of my head. The bad things that happened that year. The election. How could I forget that? Would you say 2024 was the worst year of your life? Maybe. Um, it definitely had the most bad shit happen in my life, so I'd probably say, yeah, perhaps. I mean, the worst thing to ever happen in my life so far happened in 2020 when my grandmother passed away. That hit me very hard, as you can imagine, and still hits me hard, frankly. But, I've said it before, at least there is light at the end of that tunnel. I rekindled my relationship with my father, rekindled my relationship with my father's side of the family. So, at least there was that happened right after my grandmother's death. 2024, there was no light, no light at all. So, yeah, I would say 2024, for me at least, was even worse than 2020. I recently binge watched Jimmy Neutron. It still holds up really well. It's been years since I watched Jimmy Neutron. I used to really like Jimmy Neutron as a kid. I don't know how much of a hot take this is, but at least when I was a kid, I liked Jimmy Neutron more than Dexter's Lab. I know Dexter's Lab is regarded by a lot of people as, an all-time cartoon, an all-timer in the cartoon realm, and a lot of people say even the best Cartoon Network show. Yeah, I can think of several Cartoon Network shows I like more than Dexter's Lab personally. And plus, I don't think Jimmy Neutron suffered seasonal rot, at least not to the extent that Dexter did. So there's that too. Oh yeah, Sheen's voice actor died recently. I remember someone sharing that in my Discord server. R.I.P. to him. And oh yeah, what's his name? Jim Ward, Dimmadome, or this is the role I think of immediately when I think of him these days. Krauser in original RE4. He died recently too, but that's not too much of a shock. I remember hearing that voice actor has been, I think, suffering from dementia for a while. Unfortunately, horrible, horrible condition. It is cloudy as hell over there in NY, or is it just later? I'm in I'm in Cali and it's fluctuating between hot and cold like crazy. Oh well, I mean we're in the winter. Well, we're approaching winter, I mean, but we're in the time difference where it gets dark really fucking early. Like sunset is like over here in New York, sunset is like 4:30 p.m. during this time of the year or around there. And since I sleep late, I don't experience much sunlight during this time of the year. I mean, I don't mind this time change as much as most people. I don't mind it getting dark earlier, but I can't really blame people for finding this to be depressing or wanting more sunlight. But yeah, it was cloudy here in New York earlier. Um, it rained pretty heavily earlier. I was worried my basement would flood, but thankfully no flooding. Thank God, just a little trickle of water came in through the back door in the basement, and that was it. Just clean that up with a towel. Took all of like a minute to clean up, as opposed to like being in my basement with a wet vac, cleaning up water for like 4 hours. They were bittersweet because I was doing things I enjoy despite facing challenges. Oh, I see. Yeah, for me, doing things that, even simple things that I enjoy, can be a relief from any challenges I face or any struggles I face in general. Even something like playing a video game for a bit when I'm stressed out helps me out a little. What I like doing though to clear my mind, and mainly I do this in the warmer seasons, and warmer months, walk around my block. That's always a nice way to clear my mind. Favorite month of the year is June, even though my birthday is on October 12th. No, it's fine having a favorite month that isn't the month your birthday falls in. I don't even know what my favorite month is. Uh, well, I could say March since that's when my birthday is, but I don't know. I something I never really thought about. I don't really have any preference towards any particular month. I don't base any month like on like what vibe it exudes or anything, or what weather I typically associate with each month, because really, uh like for example, there's the saying April showers brings May flowers, but a lot of the times here in New York non we don't get constant showers in April. Some years it's been the opposite. Some years we don't get many showers in April, but in May it's fucking raining like crazy on almost a daily basis. So, you know, I I I I don't really know how to rank the months, and and I don't really know how I could, because each year is different, and there's no set there's no definitive set of factors that occur in a month every single year that would make me like definitively say, oh, my favorite month is this month. It snowed a bit recently too, and has been freezing recently. Well, today, here in New York, at least, today isn't so bad. I have the temperature right here, 46 degrees after a string of days that were only in like the 20s, even going down to like fucking 12 degrees at night usually. Yeah, I don't like the brutal cold. I've made it more than clear that I don't like the brutal heat, and I would still say I prefer the cold over the heat, as I've established before. I mean, you could you know, y- your body naturally generates heat. You could put on a jacket, you could put on several layers of clothing to make yourself warm. When it's brutally hot during the summer, there's not really any way to to shield yourself from that, aside from like being indoors and air conditioning. There's that, of course, but I mean, when you're outside, your body doesn't your body doesn't really have any natural mechanisms to fight against, the scorching heat, or at least, like it does for, the cold. And of course, there's no special piece of clothing you could wear that would, make yourself not hot when it's really hot outside. I mean, you could be fucking naked outside. If it's like 100 degrees, you're still gonna be miserable. So yeah, that's why I still prefer, even though I don't like winter because of how cold it usually gets here, I still prefer the winter over the summer, definitely. Oh yeah, it also snowed here recently, like you mentioned. Um, we got some snow over the weekend, I think. Not that much snow, and not a whole lot of it stuck to the ground. I mean, because it rained shortly after that. Well, I think it rained during the snowfall. I don't remember exactly. But no, we still did get some snow that stuck to the ground and it's still there, but a lot of it has melted away already. We definitely didn't get enough snow where I had to like go outside and shovel. Thank God. I hope I'm spared from that this winter, but it's probably gonna happen. NYC usually gets the most snow during January and February. Of course, March is when it starts to, get warmer, and we don't get snow all that often. There have been some occasions where we got snow on my birthday, and my birthday is usually the first day of spring, but that hasn't happened in a long time. Did you hear about the DoorDash driver that pepper sprayed someone's food? At first, I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" But I think I might have heard something like that, maybe like through a news alert on my phone, but I didn't actually read what that was about. That sounds kind of familiar. Why did a DoorDash driver pepper spray someone's food? What a customer have like a history of not tipping or something? Not that that would excuse that or anything, but I'm just wondering if there was any rationale that was disclosed. I have a feeling that climate change might be linked to the fluctuating temperatures over here because even by California standards, it's getting ridiculous. There was also rain with high humidity. Well, yeah, climate change can cause really fucky shit with the weather. um, like for example, these last few years during winter, we've had some days that have reached into the fucking 60s in regards to the temperature. That was unheard of before here in NYC before I'd say maybe like I don't know 5 or so years ago, maybe a little longer than that. But yeah, the flooding in my basement only started a few years ago. It used to be when we would get heavy rain, the thought of the basement flooding was just almost unheard of, unless we're having some like huge hurricane or something. Like my basement flooded. I want to say Katrina, but I don't think Katrina hit New York. I forget which hurricane it was, but it was definitely in the early to mid 2000s, and our basement got hit pretty hard. And I remember as a kid, my uncle and my grandma and my mom had to clean out water from the basement. And obviously, back then I was too young to help. And I remember one other time, it wasn't Hurricane Sandy. There was another hurricane, I think the year before, where our basement flooded, and I was only like 10 years old, so I was still too young to help. All I could do was just watch my family empty out water from the basement. Aside from those few instances from my childhood, we never got flooding in the basement, and that flooding only happened because we got extreme heavy rain, like again a hurricane hit. But now, like nearly every fucking time we get even a regular rainstorm, we have to worry about the basement flooding. When again, this used to not be a worry for us at all, unless again a hurricane was coming. So yeah, the climate is definitely changing, and we're getting more and more people, like actually experiencing effects of climate change in their day-to-day lives. And it's getting harder to deny that climate change exists. But of course, there's still Neanderthals out there. Unfortunately, quite a few of those Neanderthals are in our Congress and our government who deny the existence of climate change because we live in a very, very brain dead country. Sometimes at night when I want to sleep or relax, I put on white noise videos. I do that too. Well, not videos, plural. I use a video that's a 10-hour loop of the sound of a fan to drown out all the noise outside because I'm a very light sleeper. Like even the sound of birds chirping could wake me up. Forget about sounds of cars, driving by and buses and all that. I live in New York City, so it's never really that quiet here. Um, so yeah, I use that to tune out all the outside noise. And that's pretty much the only white noise video I like. No other white noise video really, I guess, hits the spot. I know people really like the sounds of rain or waterfalls and all that. And yeah, I agree. Those sounds are peaceful, but they're not sounds I could picture myself falling asleep to. I'd find it to be too distracting. Yes. The sound of a fan. I mean, Um, I've slept with fans on pretty much my whole life, or at least during the summer and hotter parts of the year. Last year, I had my fan in my room up until November. I think the heat did not want to go away. This year, the my fan was put back into the garage by like I think September, end of September, maybe early October. But yeah, I'm used to the sounds of fans. while I'm sleeping, so I sleep with that. That's the main reason why I have YouTube Premium, by the way. I know, I'm a sucker. I shouldn't be paying for YouTube Premium because YouTube is objectively a horrible, horrible company headed by an even larger, horrible, and even more horrible company. But YouTube Premium has basic perks locked behind a paywall, like being able to still play videos in the background on your phone when you exit the app or lock your phone, or obviously no ads either, so there wouldn't be any ad interruptions during the video. And that video really helps me sleep, so that's the main reason why I pay for YouTube Premium. It does have some legitimately nice perks though, like there's a feature where you could skip to, I guess, a more interesting part of the video. There's a little button that says jump ahead, and it's pretty much like a built-in sponsor block feature because it seems that seems to always appear when a YouTuber is shelling out some fucking shit they're sponsored by, and then that little pop-up appears saying jump ahead, and then you press it and it goes straight to when they actually get to the fucking topic of the video. I find that so funny that YouTube has that. Again, it's locked behind premium, but it's funny that even YouTube itself is like, yeah, just don't even fucking bother watching this sponsor bullshit. And it's also just nice watching YouTube on my phone and not having to worry about watching any fucking ads. Because I have an iPhone. I'm sure, like, if you have an Android or whatever, there's probably ways to like implement an ad blocker, but there's no such feature on an iPhone. So, oh well. And I know there's like special apps or like a bootleg version of the YouTube app you could download, and it blocks ads and has a whole bunch of the features that are locked behind premium for free. But I think I heard of Google detects that your account is like signed into an app like that. Google to just like nuke your entire account or at least nuke your channel. And yeah, I'd rather not risk that. No, thank you. Even if that does happen very rarely, rather not risk that. White noise videos are pretty good sleep aids. For me specifically, I also like let's plays of games I like. Those help a ton as well. I personally can't sleep to any video that has someone talking. I would find that too distracting. Even if it's like someone like, gently and calmly like reading a soothing story. Yeah, that's just never worked for me. ASMR videos have never done much for me as well. Like more specifically ASMR videos where like someone is whispering into a mic and flicking their fingers to the mic and shit like that. I think I did a rant on that like 5 years ago or something like that. Um, I don't know. I've always found videos like those to be very off-putting personally. Someone whispering into a mic, and especially if you're wearing headphones, it's like they're whispering right into your ear. And I don't know, that's always just kind of freaked me out and never really calmed my nerves. If anything, it like enhances anxiety a little bit because it gives me like the sensation that someone is right up to my ear whispering into it. And as you could imagine, me as an autistic person, don't really like it when people get too close to me. Yeah. So much for me being an intimate person. Yeah. I was sick these past few days and it was terrible. I think it's because of the cold. I very rarely get sick. I have a very, very strong immune system. Not to brag too much. But yeah, the last time I got sick was 3 years ago when I went to a family gathering. It was the birthday party for one of my uncles on my father's side. He's not an uncle related to me by blood, It's just on my father's side. It's just my father and two aunts. That uncle is married to one of my aunts. But regardless, he's like a blood uncle to me. I was pretty close to him as a kid. He was very fun. But it was his 60th birthday, and it was a surprise birthday party for him, and it was a pretty fun time. But then when I got home, like the next morning, or not morning, I wake up in the afternoon. The next afternoon, I was miserable. My nose was clogged. I just felt so fucking horrible, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm sick." This very rarely happens. The downside to having such a strong immune system and very rarely getting sick is, at least for me, when I do get sick, I get sick really, really fucking bad. And that time was no exception. Like I was just miserable for an entire week. I was coughing so much to the point where every single time I coughed, it felt like I was getting punched really hard in the stomach. Just absolutely dreadful. I remember also I was playing on my GameCube at the time, and I like to bring my GameCube down at night to play on the TV in the living room. But I remember I was playing for like, I think I was playing Mother 3. I was playing for like, I don't know, 15 minutes, and then I just felt completely devoid of energy. Didn't even have any energy to play a fucking video game. I was just like laying back on my recliner, just feeling miserable. I had a Well, I stayed like that for a while because I didn't even have the energy to get up and bring my GameCube back upstairs and go to bed. But eventually I did muster up the energy to do that. And yeah, that was probably the worst cold or fever I ever had. It was horrible. And miraculously, it wasn't COVID. A lot of my family members on that side of the family are anti-vax Republicans, and I thought for sure my luck had run out, but nope, it was a regular cold that my body just had a very awful reaction to. We are we're nearly 6 years since COVID was declared a pandemic, and I have still never caught COVID. Hopefully, I keep that up. Can you fucking believe that? By the way, almost 6 years since lockdowns happened, since COVID was declared a national emergency. 2020 next month is going to be 6 years ago. Fuck. Someone from my Instagram who was from Minnesota said the temperature there recently went to -20. Yeah, in Minnesota, it could get brutally cold. I've never been to Minnesota, never even been near Minnesota, but yeah, I've heard like Minnesota could be really fucking cold. I don't think I know anyone in Minnesota. I don't even know if I know anyone who lives around Minnesota. At least I don't think I do. Could be misremembering, or obviously, I'm not the type to ask people online where they live unprompted. Yeah, there have been some days, not often at all, but some days here where the temperature did go down into the negatives. I know, so like -2, you know, shit like that. And I know there are people in around the world who laugh at that and say, "Try living in like -80 degree weather. I can do it. Good for you." But yeah, I am not equipped to handle that kind of cold. Like, there have been days, like in middle school, I think there were some days in like January where the temperature went down into the negatives, and we still had to go to school. It's like -2 degrees, and yeah, so school was still open. What was the coldest day in NYC? I wonder. In history, I keep getting results that say in 2025. Coldest day in NYC history. Oh, here's a chart. Oh, this only spans back to. Oh, wait. This is by year, and well, it only goes up to 2023. Apparently, the coldest day in 2023, minimum Fahrenheit, 3 degrees, February 4th, 2023. Really, I don't even remember a day in 2023 being 3 degrees, but okay. I'm sure it happened. The last time, at least according to this chart, it hit the negatives here in NYC, February 14th, Valentine's Day, 2016. Wow. I don't remember that day, actually. Actually, this is a pretty cool chart. I should save it to refer back to later, probably after I'm streaming, if I remember. Damn that. I don't know what you're referring to. -20. Holy shit. I don't know how I'd be able to handle that. I mean, I can't even handle when the temperature goes down to the low teens, or fuck, the single digits, and early negatives. Negative fucking 20. No, thank you. Yep, and they did say in general it's likely gonna be very cold and snowy this year, this winter. Definitely has been so far. I've heard projections like that as well, that this winter is gonna be very cold, very snowy, and yeah. Again, I'm not a fan of shoveling snow. I haven't liked snow since I was a kid, because when I was a kid, that wasn't my responsibility. I would, you know, all I would do was go outside and make snow angels and play in the snow, and try to make snowballs, even though I never really knew how to make a snowball. But today is pretty warm for this time of the year. Like I said, it's 46 degrees right now. Well, tomorrow is going to be 38 at the highest. It's actually not going to be that bad for this entire upcoming week. 40s, late 30s. Next Friday is going to be 50 degrees. Guess we're taking a break from the extreme cold we've been experiencing lately. Again, climate change. Used to days in that temperature at this time of the year were previously unheard of in this part of the country. I prefer the warmer seasons, spring and summer, over the cooler seasons, fall and winter. I don't know. I just like the warmness. I love summer a bit more though, but I really hate the heat. Summer I don't like. Spring. Here's the thing, spring, I would absolutely love spring because ideally, perfect season. Not too hot, not too cold, sunny days, like all that shit. Pollen though, ugh, suffer with that shit nearly every single year. This year though wasn't too horrible. I started taking medicine a little bit before I started experiencing uh, bad bad symptoms, so maybe that helped. But no, most years I get allergies really fucking bad. My eyes are so unbearably itchy and watery. My nose runny, horrible. Oh yeah, and the top of my mouth, the roof of my mouth, itches like hell. That's another symptom I get, and it's just a horrible sensation all around. People are saying it was because she didn't like the tip, but when she was arrested, she said she was spraying a spider, which is bullshit because the couple who ordered the food got very sick. Yeah, spraying a spider. Look, so long as companies don't want to pay their service workers fair wages and other agencies and restaurants of the sort, you know, so long as that remains the case and it has to be passed down to the fucking customer, you know, I do. I mean, I don't like that, it has to be passed down to the customer to give, tips to, because, a lot of places can't be fucked to pay their workers fair wages. But so long as that is the responsibility of the customer, yeah, pay a fair tip. Like these are people who work hard. They provide services for you. They deliver your food or give your food to you if you're in a restaurant. Yeah, they work hard all day. Give them a fair tip. Again, that shouldn't be the responsibility of the customer, but still, it's just the reality we live in this country. And by the way, do you know about the Cinnabon lady that was racist to a Somali couple? No, I don't. What was that all about? What did they say? What did the lady say to them? Was it like that lady from earlier this year who called a little black boy the N word, hard R, and then she got like what $1 million in donations from MAGA? Great country we live in. I really enjoy those milder winters sometimes, a break from the cold. Yeah, well, like I said, this upcoming week, seems like we're gonna get a big break from the cold. Again, days in the 40s and one day even hitting 50. Though a lot of the days are still in the late 30s, but that's still preferable over, low 20s or in the teens or even the single even in the single digits, which we haven't gotten that so far this year, but still. I think Katrina happened in 2005, and I believe it hit Texas and Louisiana. Yeah, Katrina didn't come here, but it was definitely a hurricane that happened around that time. Maybe the same year, but it was a different hurricane. I just remember it was in like the early to mid 2000s that happened. My basement flooding. The first time I experienced my basement flooding, I should say. Speaking of videos, do you know those weird, sad AI videos involving cats where they're in a toxic relationship or some shit? No, I don't know those videos because I don't watch AI slop. That is shit I'd rather not subject myself to. Um, Very, very. I really don't like AI. Don't like AI one bit. So I'd rather not watch videos that are made by AI. Or at least I don't like how AI is utilized in this society. Like as a replacement for creativity, or you know, used as a means for companies to throw workers out on their ass on the street because obviously it's cheaper to just have AI automate their jobs away than pay these workers fair wages. I don't like how AI is implemented in those regards. I know it can be beneficial technology if it was in the hands of people who actually cared about benefiting society, but unfortunately, we don't have people like that in charge. We have people who just want to cut corners wherever they can and however they can. And if that means, just cutting people off from their jobs, leaving them out to fend for themselves in the name of cutting costs, they'll absolutely do it and weaponize this technology to do that. I think it's disgusting. And that's really the biggest reason why I hate this technology. Again, it can be utilized for good, and I'm sure it has been utilized for good in certain aspects. It can be used as a means to help disabled people. I get that, and other beneficial means, but I think the harm vastly outweighs the good, especially when it comes to generative AI bullshit. I like at this point, I can't even fucking tell. Even though maybe like to people who are savvy when it comes to this, it's obvious. But to me, like I can't even tell anymore if a picture is AI or not. These AI generations are getting so scarily realistic. It's still easy to tell if a video is AI because of unnatural movements and like unnatural ways of speaking. If the video does include talking, but pictures are getting so fucking scarily realistic. Again, I'm sure if you have a keen eye, you can probably point out, like inaccuracies or flaws, like maybe their fingers look weird. But even then, the AI is getting a lot better at fingers these days, I've noticed. Or something weird going on in the background that, an average person is not going to spot, especially if they're not very savvy when it comes to AI, like myself. The genie has been let out of the bottle when it comes to that type of technology, and it really scares me, the ramifications of that, the potential ramifications of that. Like, now you can make very realistic fakes of whatever the fuck you want. You can make up fake news stories, I'm sure, these generative AI images and fool people who are none the wiser into believing whatever narrative you want. I mean, it's already been proven time and time again that this technology is also utilized for porn, making these hyper realistic fakes of like celebrities or hell, even normal people. I'm sure there are some creepos out there who take pictures from like someone's social media profile and makes fake realistic looking nudes of them and maybe even spreads them around, passing them off as real. And again, I'm sure a lot of people are none the wiser and would believe those images are real. It's just scary. Very, very scary. Someone can make a fake of me someday. I mean, I have 1,600 videos of me speaking, and AI could easily, like, use all of that content to train off my voice, and then someone could have me say whatever the fuck, and I'm sure it would sound very convincing. Just a scary reality we live in. And it's like, a lot of people talk about the innovation, and yeah, I'm sure it is innovative, but that at what cost? Pretty big cost, if you ask me. I still remember those mornings standing out at the bus stop, freezing my ass off. I would literally cover my whole face with my hat. Yeah, those days, especially in middle school, when some days actually hit in the negatives. I would take a scarf and um, wrap it around my mouth. Like the half of my face would be covered. It'd be so fucking cold. Wear a heavy jacket, have my hood up, and have a hat on. Bundle myself up as much as possible. Even have a few layers of clothing on underneath. I mean, obviously, I was still cold, but again, like, at least you can sufficiently protect yourself better against the cold than you can against the extreme heat. I remember after I took a state test in high school, it was the English state test, the Regents exam, I should say. Not to brag too much, but I got a 90 for that exam and I got an award for that. But yeah. But I finished that test early. I still had like an hour to spare. For some reason that the school doesn't let you hang around if you finish your test early or even to wait before the test begins. You're just forced to leave. I don't know if that's still the case now. I wouldn't be surprised if it still is. But it was January when I took that test. It wasn't any of the Regents exams that took place during June at the end of the year. And I remember I had like an hour to spare, and I didn't want to go home right away because I didn't want like my family to get like all suspicious and be like, because I did finish that test surprisingly quickly. It was like a that English exam. I just zoomed through the answers, not because I was rushing or anything. It's just I was so in the zone and I felt like I aced it. I was really proud of myself. Again, not to brag too much, but I didn't want to go home too early. So I just wandered around the block for an hour and it was brutally cold that day. Like I did want to stay. There was a Dunkin' Donuts right by that school that I did sit in for a little bit until one of the ladies who worked there asked me if I was buying anything and I said no and she said, well, you got to leave then if you're not buying because otherwise you're taking up the spot of a customer." And I was like, all right, fair enough. I wasn't going to obviously start anything with her. She's just doing her job. She was pretty polite about it on top of that, so no reason to start any altercation. But then I just had to wander around for like another half hour in the brutal cold. That wasn't fun. I mean, I could have gone back home, but again, I didn't want to go back home too early. There's also the inverse of that. A few instances where I took a Regents exam, well, not a Regents exam. This was my SAT as well, Regents exam a few times also, but the SATs was the worst of it. I took my SATs in June of 2018. I actually had to retake it in December of that year because it didn't do well in the math portion. Thankfully, I passed it the second time around, or passed that portion, I mean. But I remember when I took it the first time around, it was early June. I forget what day exactly, but it was so fucking hot that day. It was like in the 90s, and we're in a classroom, and my school doesn't have air conditioning. We just have one really big fan at the back of the room that wasn't really doing much of fucking anything. It was blowing at full blast, but still couldn't feel anything. It was so big, you would think it would sufficiently cool the room, but nope, nope, it didn't. So I had to take the SATs in miserable fucking heat, sweating my ass off in a classroom in a school that didn't have air conditioning. It was absolutely miserable. And then I took my the year before that, I think it was the year before that, my sophomore year. Actually, yeah, it was there before that. I remember I forget which exam it was that I took, but I had 2 exams that day, and I had, like, an hour wait between the 2 exams, and, I finished, and, again, you can't for some reason, the school doesn't let you stick around to wait for the next exam, so I had to leave, and, It was so hot that day. I was wandering around, and I went to a nearby playground. I was gonna say park, but it was really just a playground to sit on one of the benches there, and that's why I recorded my '90s kids rant. I remember now. I had to wait in between the two regents exams, and I did that to kill time. I wanted to make that video later in the day at my house, but I figured I have this hour-long wait. I'm in this miserable fucking heat. May as well make a video venting my frustration on something because I'm already so fucking frustrated that I have to be out in this fucking brutal heat. And I did that. And I remember I was like, miserable. I was sweating the whole fucking time. Surprised I was able to even focus on what I was talking about. I was so just felt so awful. I don't even know what message that stemmed from. It was like what a 5 minute tangent. I could spend like could spend forever on one message. I don't mind that though. I don't mind that. It's better than just, like what a lot of streamers do, ignore like most of their chat and spend like maybe 2 seconds on certain messages. I don't do that here. I don't get nearly enough messages warranting me to like, ignore other messages. And on top of that, I feel like I owe you full answers anyway, even if my answers could be a rambly mess. But again, I don't mind that. Well, thank goodness I don't have any allergies. Well, you're very lucky then, because again, most years I suffer from horrible, horrible allergies. It was pretty miserable in elementary school, especially. Not because my allergies were especially bad back then; they're about as bad as they can tend to get now. It's just that in almost all of my classes in elementary school, every year, it seemed like I would be the only one suffering from allergies. I would be the only one incessantly rubbing my eyes getting all red and puffy and itchy, my nose getting all runny, my mouth itching, all those awful fucking symptoms that I usually get with allergies. It felt like I was the only kid in class that suffered with that, or at least suffered with allergies that badly. Because yeah, there were some other kids who did suffer from seasonal allergies. Sure, I even knew one kid who suffered from not a seasonal allergies, but I knew one kid who had an allergic reaction to peanuts, and he had to sit at a special table at the lunchroom away from other kids to be away from peanuts. And he was a pretty cool kid. I was friends with him. Sometimes I would sit with him at that table. Anyway, um, but yeah, even the other kids who had allergies, they didn't seem to get it nearly as bad as I did. So I just felt so alone in my suffering. In high school, though, there were quite a few people who seemed to get allergies as bad as me. So even though I was still pretty fucking miserable from allergies, at least I knew I wasn't suffering alone like I usually did elementary school. But I would be so fucking jealous of all the other kids. How come they don't get allergies nearly as bad as I do? Or how come they don't seem to get allergies at all? Eh, but I bet they don't have a strong immune system like I do. I have a little cousin, the same little cousin I bring up, who also has a peanut allergy. Yeah. He can't have anything containing peanuts, not any chocolate, none of that. I have eaten chocolate with him a few times. Thankfully, I'm not allergic to any foods. Not allergic to peanuts or anything. But even still, I don't like having chocolate that has anything in it. Unless we're talking about Kit Kats, I like those wafers inside Kit Kats. Kit Kats are my favorite chocolate. But Um, Generally speaking, I don't like any nuts inside of my chocolate or anything of the sort. So that was fine. It was fine for him to eat whatever chocolate I was having. Did you also hear about the Virginia high school coach named Travis Turner who went missing and is now a fugitive for CP possession and talking to kids on his computer? No, I have not heard of this. What the fuck? He went missing? Well, I assume he went missing to run from the cops. Hope they find him. They probably will. It's not often people escape successfully for the rest of for the rest of their lives from police, unless they kill themselves, I suppose. Um, yes, that that's horrible. Speaking of talking to kids, though, this has always perplexed me. This person isn't a content creator, I assume, but even still, it sparked the idea in my head and something I've been wondering for a long time. Why do any of these content creators even fucking bother trying to like, get in touch with kids and talk to them and try to groom them when they know they must know by this point that shit is likely going to come out. Like that kid could grow up and reflect on, their inappropriate interactions with this content creator or really anyone online in general and out them. Like, is it really fucking worth the risk? I don't know. I have no attraction whatsoever to children, so I don't know how they're hardwired. Maybe the risk is worth it to them. But I'm just like, you have an entire reputation on the line and you're willing to throw it away talking inappropriately to kids online. And you know how much reviled how much people like that are reviled. That is career shattering and reputation shattering for good reason. And it's like you have seen so many other content creators in the past get outed for that same shit and their entire reputation being destroyed, their platform being taken away from them, and their platform being destroyed in general because obviously they lose their fan base. And yet you still want to risk that. You still want to like go ahead and talk to kids. It's just it just boggles my mind that anyone would even want to like take that risk. Let me change my position. I'm uncomfortable now. Oh, yeah, Metallica shirt and Justice for All. Great album, unfortunately buried in horrible production and lack of bass. Ooh, that angers me to no end. Though there are great uploads on YouTube adding bass back to and Justice songs, and they sound so much better with the bass added. Jesus, like it still boggles my mind to no end why they would remove bass from the tracks on that album. Like it really made when you listen to those fan made uploads that add bass to the tracks, it really makes you appreciate bass as an instrument. I feel like bass is pretty underappreciated, and bass players are underappreciated, unless of course, the bass player is like the front man or one of the front mans, like say Geddy Lee or Roger Waters or Paul McCartney and the Beatles. Of course, those are very obvious exceptions, and several other exceptions are out there. But those are the ones that come to my mind immediately. Unless you're like the singer or one of the fronting members, it seems like bass players are just kind of like forgotten almost, or not thought of as much as, of course, the lead singer and the guitarist and even the drummer. Bass players should be appreciated more. That's all I'm saying. And they shouldn't have their bass tracks removed from otherwise great albums. Though the lack of bass isn't my only issue with and Justice for All's production. Never really liked how that album sounded in general, despite again the songs on their own being fucking fantastic. Just just never cared for the production on that album. That's my main gripe with it. Again, still a great album though. Speaking of exams and getting out early, this week was exam week, but I took my health PE earlier, and today we got out at 11:05 a.m. It was awesome. I was still sleeping at 11:05. Still sleeping for another 2 or so hours. I figured you were done with high school by this point. If you are talking about high school, though. Hello, Dylan. How are you doing? Kit Kats are good. Hershey's with almonds suck, though. Yeah, I don't. Again, I don't like chocolate with anything in them, unless again wafers in the case of Kit Kats. But yeah, I don't really. I don't like nuts. I don't like almonds or any of that shit in my chocolate. I just like plain chocolate. Milk chocolate. I'm not a fan of dark chocolate. I know there are people out there who like swear by dark chocolate and say it's so much better than milk chocolate, but I've had some dark chocolate in my life and no, didn't like it at all. I need that sugar. But yeah, Kit Kats have been my favorite chocolate since I was a kid. There used to be a corner store right around the corner of my house that my dad would go to, usually at night when he would be at the house be at my house over the weekend, and he would go to that corner store to buy a pack of cigarettes, and he would always take me to that corner store to buy Kit Kats, and I would always associate that store with getting Kit Kats because every single time he would buy some for me over there, and always be so excited to go. That corner store is long gone though. Now they put like a deli there. There were like several of these rundown stores before that deli was put there. I think the previous owner sold the property. I would always get excited when I would have Kit Kats, and either my mom or dad would buy me them when I was a kid. And of course, I still love Kit Kats to this day. I have a friend who doesn't like them though. Says he never cared for them, and I'm like, that's blasphemous to me. Don't you dare besmirch Kit Kats. Metallica, they got some kick-ass stuff. Yeah. The first four albums are, of course, my favorite, but I think they're everyone's favorite. Ride the Lightning is my personal favorite Metallica album. A lot of people say they like Master of Puppets more than Ride the Lightning. For a lot of people, Master of Puppets was the magnum opus, but for me, it's Ride the Lightning. Even though Master of Puppets does have my favorite Metallica song, Disposable Heroes, Ride the Lightning has more songs that I think rank higher than most of Master of Puppets. Oh God, Fade to Black, Fight Fire with Fire, For Whom the Bell Tolls, Creeping Death. It's just banger after banger on Ride the Lightning. Look up his name if you haven't heard about it. He was last seen by his wife leaving his house to go to the woods with a firearm. Many say he ended himself. If he went into the woods with a firearm and then he just disappeared, then it may be a reasonable assumption that he could have killed himself. I mean, obviously, he could still be alive. Maybe that could have been a red herring to make people think he ended himself. Sure, but that more or less kind of confirms to me that he may not be alive anymore. That doesn't mean that the search should end just based off an assumption with no concrete evidence. But for me, I'm like, yeah, if you put it together, he's probably not alive anymore. Cool shirt, by the way. Thank you. Oh, and did you hear about the Hanukkah attack in Australia? Yeah, I have heard about that, though I haven't been keeping up with the latest updates surrounding that. I heard about it when it happened. Um, yeah, I have nothing to say besides it's horrible. Doing way better this week than last week. Last week I was going through caffeine withdrawal, and it was causing me anxiety some last week. Withdrawal. I mean, I've experienced withdrawal firsthand. Not I haven't experienced withdrawal, but I've experienced people who have experienced withdrawal. And it's not pleasant. Yeah, I wish you the best. I've never cared for caffeine or coffee or anything like that. Anything that contains caffeine, or most things at least. I've never developed like any dependency on anything. Not to like talk down anyone struggling with addiction to anything, but I've never experienced that, and I'd rather not, mess around with any addictive substances personally because at least my father's side of the family has a pretty long history of various different types of addiction, and I'd rather stay away from that as much as I can. I have tried coffee a few times. Starbucks coffee. Sometimes my uncle would get me some coffee just to try out, see if I like it, and never cared for it. There's a quote from The Last of Us 2. Dina, she says something like about coffee. It tastes like burnt shit or something. And it's always resonated with me because that's what coffee has always tasted like to me. Speaking of bass guitar, I've mentioned that I wanted to start a grunge band. I'll play bass, probably will let someone else sing. Oh, cool. I think you have mentioned about a band to me before. Seems like you haven't gotten a singer yet, but have you gotten any other members join your band yet? And if so, what instruments? Have you written any songs? No, the chat jumped. Where did I leave off here? I like chocolate. My favorite kinds are white chocolate, mint chocolate, and cookies and cream chocolate. But I love fruity and juicy candy better, like lollipops, gummy bears, Skittles, etc. I don't like Skittles, but I do like lollipops. Very rarely have them though, but sometimes I have a lollipop. Gummy bears I like, though I've never really been able to eat too many of them in one sitting because I I really don't like I don't know eating too many sour things at once. I just really don't like. And of course, like the involuntary faces you make when you eat something sour. Never cared for that sensation. But yeah, I do like gummies in moderation, both normal and CBD gummies. My favorite chocolate is probably Reese's Take 5 or Butterfingers. I don't eat Reese's chocolate, and I've had a few Butterfingers, but it's something I don't eat regularly at all. I told my mom what Mom Donnie's policies are, and she said she likes Mom Donnie. Yeah, you'll notice that from a lot of people. What the fuck is going on with the screen? Got all glitchy. I don't know what the hell happened. Uh, I don't know. Something's going on my screen right now. I'll just look at the chat from my phone, I suppose. What? Something's going on. Weird. But yeah. I don't know what the fuck is going on with my screen right now. It's all glitchy and shit. Oh well. Again, I'll read the chat from my phone, I suppose. Something about Mom Donnie's policies. Oh. She said she likes Mom Donnie. Yeah, that seems to be the consensus from a lot of people. They hear they don't listen to when you get past like the whole like fear mongering over him, and you all the like bullshit smears of being anti-Semitic and all that, and the fear mongering over his policies. Ooh, everything is gonna be free. He's gonna let criminals roam the streets and all that shit. Yeah, I mean, it's just a bunch of like bullshit fear mongering at the end of the day. But when you actually hear what his policies are, a lot of people, even people you wouldn't think would resonate with his policies, end up resonating with his policies. And that's why I think he is extremely effective and someone who the Democratic Party should absolutely emulate, you know? I don't know what the fuck is going on with my browser. For whatever reason, is this weird view. Everything like kind of glitched out, and I don't know what the fuck happened. I can't see anything besides my the view of my webcam. uh, I don't even know how I'm gonna end the stream. Might have to just close the browser when I'm done. Oh dear. Whatever. But yeah, he's a good was gonna say textbook, but I don't know if that's the right word. He is a good blueprint for what the Democratic Party should follow. They should absolutely adopt more populist rhetoric that actually resonates with regular people in this country. And of course, not just engage in populist rhetoric for the sake of engaging in populist rhetoric, offer like actual solutions to the problems regular people are facing and not just vague populist platitudes they can gesture to. Like Mamdani, for example, freeze the rent, free childcare, fast and free buses, you know, things that could actually benefit the economy and help and improve people's quality of life in this city. We'll see how these policies are implemented. Obviously, he's going to face his share of hardships during his tenure as mayor. He's already having Adams before he even enters before his term even begins. Adams is already trying to put roadblocks in his agenda to freeze the rent. Fuck Eric Adams. I look forward to when he's finally the fuck out of City Hall. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how his term goes. But I have high hopes for him personally. I can't even see how long I've been streaming from this view. Again, I don't know why my Chrome browser got all so fucky and glitchy. I have no idea what's going on. I don't know how to fix it besides closing the browser, and obviously I don't want to do that because I don't want to end the stream just yet. Ugh. I actually had Sour Patch Kids recently. Been a while. They're good. I've had some Sour Patch Kids a few times, mostly when I was in school, when we would have like class parties, and that would be one of the candies offered to for us to eat. I would eat them, and again, of course, I can't have too much of that because I don't really like sour candy. Well, I can eat sour candy. It is tasty, but when I have too much at once, that's just when I'm like, yeah, I don't like this very much. That's exactly what I've been thinking about too when it comes to Travis. Wait, Travis who? Oh, wait, the person you're talking about that was busted for CP, that Travis. Oh, the Hanukkah attack was done by a father and son. Father was killed, and last I heard, the son was in critical condition. Yeah, I heard that too. That it was carried out by a father and son. Jesus Christ. Wonder what the fuck kind of relationship they had with each other. That a father and son could carry out something so horrific. Like, could you imagine like having your kid do something like that with you? Commit a mass shooting? It's not even like imaginable to me. But hey, this is the world we live in. Crazy shit can tend to happen. We live in a fucked up, unpredictable world. I even saw clips when the police took down the sun. A bunch of beachgoers tried to attack him. I didn't know that part. I didn't know even like regular people tried to take the shooters down. No, wait, I think I did hear something about that. Didn't one of them actually like tackle? I forget if it was either the son or the father, but one of them were like tackled by some like ordinary civilian trying to like be a hero, and I think they died in the process. I think that was this shooting. I mean, I do admire that to an extent, putting your life on the line like that, but like very few people have the bravery to do something like that. Yeah, rest in peace to that person who did that. Like again, I most certainly would not have the bravery to do something like that, and most people would not as well. There we go. Chrome is still fucky, but now I'm looking at the stream control room or whatever YouTube calls it. There's Safari, a browser that I don't use, but the view is normal. Again, Chrome got all weird and glitchy for some reason, and I can't see fucking anything. So now I am looking at chat through Safari. Again, the default browser on my Mac that I never use until now. And thankfully, I've kept it around in case I ever needed needed to use it for anything. Which, in this case, yeah, I do absolutely need it. I love coffee, more specifically, coffee with milk, creamer, or sugar, because I don't like black coffee and I have a sweet tooth. But I only drink them in the morning. I've had coffee with sugar as well, but even still, I'm not like the biggest. I wasn't the biggest fan. Wasn't a big fan of the taste. Not even my sweet tooth for sugar um, uh, made me enjoy the coffee I was drinking. I don't even remember what kind of coffee it was specifically. All I remember was it was one of the times I went to Starbucks with my uncle after we ran errands. He almost always goes to Starbucks to get a coffee. He is in love with Starbucks coffee. I know there are a lot of people who say Starbucks coffee isn't good, but my uncle is most certainly not one of those people. And I remember he got something for me just to try, and I didn't like it very much, even with the added sugar. I've never had Starbucks before. I've always associated it with teenage girls. Well, I associate Starbucks with my middle-aged uncle. Well, there are a lot of younger women who go to Starbucks, but I've never had a problem with that. Mostly people, I mostly see people around my age go there with their laptops and they just want like a quiet place to, I guess, do assignments or work or whatever. I do like the atmosphere in a lot of Starbucks, though. They do make the insides really nice and tranquil. I don't drink coffee that much. Yeah, that's probably for the better. Haven't gotten any singers or other people to play instruments yet. Haven't written songs yet. Oh. Well, seems like you still got a ways to go before this band is fully realized, I suppose. Do you at least have a name for the band? Or at least workshopping some names for the band? Have you ever played an instrument before? Well, me? Uh, I've like fiddled with acoustic guitars before, not knowing what the fuck I was doing. I have played a bit of the piano though. We used to have a piano in our house up until 7 years ago, 6 years ago. I know we already got rid of the piano when my grandma was still alive, and I think I was in high school still when we got rid of it. Um, that was the only instrument that I like had any grasp on at all. Even then, I barely knew how to play. Yeah, I don't play instruments. The drink I like the most is sweet tea. It's mainly because I come from Virginia. Is Virginia known for its tea? I actually don't know. I don't know anyone in Virginia. I don't think, at least. Well, my mom has a friend that, well, she did have a friend who used to live here who moved to Virginia like 15 years ago. He actually passed away a few years ago, sudden heart attack, unfortunately. I only saw him on very few occasions. Um, I think he did some handiwork at my house right before he moved away. He was doing my mom a favor. He was a nice guy. He was a security guard. I remember thinking his job was cool because he actually got to meet quite a few celebrities. I think he told my mom some stories. Really, he only really just escorted celebrities to their elevator and rode down with them and escorted them to like their car or limo or whatever. He said like 90% of the celebrities he had to escort didn't acknowledge him. They didn't say anything to him, and he's not allowed to speak to any of them unless they speak to him first. He did say some of them were nice though. Some of them thanked him and tried to make some small talk, which was cool. I've played viola since sixth grade. I stopped because I couldn't stand the noises of violins in strings class. I like violin. If a song incorporates violin, that usually enhances my enjoyment a little, but at least a little bit. So I have experience with a string instrument, just not an acoustic or electric guitar. I remember my father tried to teach me acoustic guitar as a kid. Never like any serious lessons though. He just like strummed a few notes and he wanted me to try to replicate it and he tried to like position my fingers and I still didn't really know much of what I was doing. I took a music class back in elementary school where we had to play instruments and part of the curriculum was playing acoustic guitar and I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. Um, and unfortunately, the teacher for that class was actually pretty nasty. Like she would yell at me and tell me I'm not even trying. Which, to be fair, I mean, I didn't really care much about learning guitar, so I guess maybe she was a little justified in telling me I wasn't even trying. But still, like, you're yelling at a 10-year-old dude. Like, of course, they're not gonna be great right away. She didn't really have much patience. Oh, I remember she said something that was pretty blasphemous. She was talking about music, and then one kid brought up Metallica and said that he really likes Metallica, and I think she said to him, "That's not real music." Yeah, some fucking music teacher. A real appreciator of music and someone who would actually be qualified to teach music would accept pretty much any genre of music as real music because that is an incredibly subjective label. I love playing the keyboard. Back in Pennsylvania as a kid, we had this Yamaha keyboard my biological dad, I believe, got. I always loved playing on it. Oh yeah, I used to have a keyboard as well as a kid. I never really actually played it much though. I used to like just playing the preset songs it would have and listening to that. I would try to follow along, but I mostly just like listening to the songs that the keyboard came with. I think my dad got me that too. I think he wanted to try to get me to learn how to play, but I just never really cared much about actually playing it. Unfortunately, that keyboard is long gone. Kind of wish we kept it though. Maybe I would have fucked around with it some, or not. Uh, Sadly, it was sold to someone else, but I have a new keyboard though. It's cheap. It's a cheap one from Amazon, but I still love it. I forget what exactly we did with that keyboard. I don't remember if it was just thrown in the trash or we sold it. Probably the former, unfortunately. I don't know if that keyboard broke or anything, but if it didn't break and we just threw it out, then I'd say that's a terrible waste. If it was a perfectly functional keyboard, it wasn't like a top of the line keyboard or anything like that, though. I think it was a cheap brand like what you have, so maybe not that much of a waste, but still, if it functioned, then I'm sure someone would have made use out of it. Someone who, for starters, could actually play. Speaking of Amazon, though, I've gotten like plenty of like cheap shit that was a complete waste of money from Amazon. Like for example, I got a DVD player. I forget what fucking brand it was. Some like no name brand or like obscure brand, I should say. Some obscure cheap brand. And I was able to watch some stuff on that DVD player and then I didn't touch it for a while and then I wanted to watch another show on that DVD player and then the tray couldn't open. Everything we tried, that tray just couldn't open. It was broken. And then I was able to return that DVD player and get a replacement free of charge. And that DVD player worked for a while, and then I didn't touch it for a while, like the last DVD player. And then I wanted to watch something on it again, and then there was no sound. Everything we tried, there was no sound playing. And then I ended up returning that DVD player, and we just got a Sony DVD player from Best Buy. And we've had that DVD player for like 2 years at this point, and it still works fine because it's an actual real name brand, not just some like cheap shit from Amazon. There was that one guy who took the father's gun, but then he reloaded once the cops shot the son as they were trying to arrest him. A bunch of other people tried to stomp and kick him. Very brave people. Very brave. I would not have the courage to do that. I remember when we would have school shooter drills in high school. I had one teacher like try to drill into our heads if there is ever a shooter, don't try to be a hero. Don't needlessly throw your life away trying to tackle down the shooter or try to like save the day or anything like that. You're gonna die. It's gonna be a, a pointless death. Which I don't know if I'd be that callous if you do end up actually saving some lives in the process. I wouldn't say it's a total waste, but yeah, I can understand the sentiment. Don't just throw your life away frivolously like that. Dunkin' Donuts has better coffee than Starbucks, to be honest. My mom drinks Dunkin' Donuts, but I've never had Dunkin' Donuts coffee because I never go with her to Dunkin' Donuts. And if she doesn't get it super often either, like my uncle gets Starbucks. So maybe it is better, I don't know, but I've never tried it. I do have some of the donuts from there though. I mean, it's called Dunkin' Donuts. That's the Well, no, actually, it's not called Dunkin' Donuts anymore. Isn't it just called Dunkin'? They did that name change like what 8 years ago, something like that. I was in high school when they did that. As far as I know, the Dunkin' Donuts that was near my high school still is actually called Dunkin' Donuts. They never changed the sign. Is that rebrand still in effect, or did they backpedal on that? I forget. I honestly don't know. I remember 7 years ago, a high schooler named Jalen Wiley, who was related to a person I know, was shot and killed by her ex boyfriend at Great Mills High School. That's horrible. Wow. Rest in peace to Jalen. What sentence did the ex end up getting? The name for the band I'd like to choose is Kid Chameleon. That's a nice name. Chameleons are cool creatures. I also played the recorder and acoustic guitar, and I think the drums too, but I like playing on the keyboard more. Do you know any specific songs on the keyboard, or do you just like to play at random? That teacher you had sounds obnoxious. I've also had my fair share of them too. Yeah, imagine being a music teacher and proclaiming that a certain band and a certain genre of music is not real music. You would think someone who has the qualifications to be a music teacher would know that music is an incredibly subjective thing, and what is or isn't real music is kind of nonsense because even like the most fucking harsh noise acts you can name that sound like just noise to anyone else can have musical weight to certain other people, you know? Like I personally don't get it, but there are people who like Lou Reed's Metal Machine music, and I'm not telling them, oh, that album is not real music because yeah, sure, it may just be noise, but it's still musical to other people. It still derives enjoyment out of other people. somehow. Though I do like some of my share of noise music though. I was just bringing up the most extreme example, the most like non-conventional music you can name still has weight to certain people and can derive enjoyment out of people, and therefore I think it is unfair to label certain genres as real music and other genres as not real music. As far as I know, she was a fan of like classic rock acts. I remember her bringing up Rolling Stones a lot. So Rolling Stones is real music, and they're within the realm of hard rock. Not too far off from Metallica, but yet Metallica is not real music supposedly, and metal. What the fuck? I'm surprised the teacher would say, "Oh, that's not real music." Like, yeah, and a music teacher on top of that. Well, then again, she was an elementary school English teacher, not like she was like, uh, teaching like college level college level music or anything. I'd say Metallica is better than anything in the mainstream right now. I don't even know what the fuck is on the charts. Sometimes my uncle likes to play videos that compile like whatever the top 50 songs are on Billboard right now, and I can't name any of them. Well, I don't remember the names of nearly any of them. Like a lot of it is like just boring country because that type of shit is popular in a significant portion of this country, and a lot of pop I don't care for. A lot of some rap stuff I don't really listen to. Now I want to try the keytar and synthesizer someday. Go for it if you really want to. I like my share of synth in music. I mean, hell, my favorite band of all time is Pink Floyd, and Pink Floyd is filled to the brim with synth. A lot of their albums are, at least. Richard Wright was a fantastic key player. I just remembered that me, my mom, and my sister got a piano months ago, and my sister has learned to play the piano. That's cool. Again, my house has had a piano for my whole life up until high school. I forget I forgot how my grandmother got that piano or why she got it, but um, that, she had that piano way before I was born. She got it in like the '80s, I think, and no one ever touched it. No one. It was really just there for decoration and to put shit on. Until we gave it to another family member who I don't even know if they still have the piano. I don't know if they play it, but they wanted it and we wanted to get rid of it, so just gave it to him. Sometimes when I was a kid, I would just like hammer away at that fucking piano and make a lot of noise and get yelled at from my grandma usually. Miss her. Since I feel old and out of step from others my age, I enjoy a song called The Middle by Cog. I have never heard of Cog or that song, I don't think. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm totally out of step with what other people my age like. Like, I do have friends in real life who are my age, and, I get glimpses of the music they listen to, and a lot of the stuff I don't really care for all too much. I have some friends who have similar tastes in music, though obviously not exactly the same. And I do have some friends who I've shared music with and say, oh, you might like this. And I have shared, especially Pink Floyd, to quite a few friends. And some liked it, some said, too weird for my taste. They are really missing out. I feel really bad for them. But I also listened, I've also heard some of the shit they listen to and like their Instagram stories and such. Um, just earlier, I was looking at my Instagram stories and I had my headphones in. I didn't even know I had the volume up so high, and I opened one of my friend's Instagram stories, and then my ears were blaring from I think a Sabrina Carpenter song. Don't know the song name. Didn't particularly enjoy the few seconds I heard. That's mainly because the volume was too high. But yeah, she's a big fan of that artist, but I know almost nothing about her. That's Sabrina Carpenter, I mean. To this day, I'm still happy I'm out of Florida after 11 years. Yeah, Florida, I mean, I'd visit Florida again someday. I have a grandmother who's still down there. Um, a few years ago, there were talks of her moving back here to New York, but I don't know what happened to that. I'm assuming she's probably going to stay down there for the rest of her life. Who knows? But maybe I'll visit her someday. But I absolutely would never want to live in Florida. Fuck that shit. No, thank you. Especially after a few months ago, when they banned, not banned, but they made it so you don't have to vaccinate your child before getting them into public school, which I find absolutely abhorrent. And don't be surprised if, in these coming years, you hear these horror stories of measles and all these other diseases that were previously eradicated, being bred out of these schools, spread it around by children, and all these children getting sick and dying. It's horrible, absolutely horrible. But this is the reality we live in. Oh, freedom, yeah, freedom to let your kids be fucking vectors for previously eradicated diseases that they could die from or spread to other kids and other kids could die from. Yeah, totally, freedom. Got a notification. What is this? Whatever. Something I can just ignore for now. Where did I leave off? Here, my ninth grade English teacher was the worst. She would complain over the stupidest shit. Like she would always complain over the kind of paper and pencils I used. So pathetic. Wow, that's wild. I never had any bad experiences with any of my English teachers. My ninth grade English teacher was actually a very nice lady. Though to some students, maybe a little too nice. Like she kind of babied us. I've heard she was previously like a kindergarten teacher, and some of that kind of seeped into how she would, conduct the classroom with us. But you know what? I'm fine with having a teacher who's too nice and I guess maybe too babyish over like some teachers I've had in high school who were complete fucking assholes. Now, I did have one English teacher in high school that I didn't like, my sophomore teacher. She was kind of an asshole. I mean, not she wasn't horrible. She had her nice moments and all that, and her fun moments, but I remember like one time, though maybe this was kind of justified. Maybe this isn't an example of her being an asshole, but um, yeah, I remember one time I did piss her off. Um, because I admittedly wasn't listening to whatever instructions she was giving. I forget what we were doing, but I was I was busy talking to some kids at the table when I shouldn't have been talking, and she yelled at me, and she like said I forget what she was yelling at me about exactly, but I was like, "Oh, I didn't know we were doing this or whatever," and she was like, "Yeah, you didn't know," and then she was like, yeah. She said pretty much like, "Good luck passing the Regents exam" or something with that kind of a lack of attention. I ended up getting a 90. Haha. And I got a Regents diploma in your fucking face. Even though I don't even know where that diploma is. I didn't really care when I got it, admittedly. I had my English teacher in 11th grade was really nice too. Probably my favorite English teacher out of all the English teachers I had in high school. Though my senior year English teacher was also really cool, really chill too. She also cursed a lot too, which was also kind of neat. Like she was one of us. But yeah, it's almost a tie between my 11th grade English teacher and my 12th grade English teacher when it comes to like my favorite English teacher from high school. I was an AP English in high school, and she I was a little nervous going into that year because it was AP, and ooh, what if I come off as stupid compared to like the other kids there? But it was a really chill atmosphere, and a lot of it was due to that teacher. She was really nice and really cool, helped ease a lot of tension, and she made that class a lot of fun, which I appreciate. I like playing the keyboard randomly. I can actually play my favorite songs just by hearing the notes of the song and play that same note. That's really cool. That's a talent. A lot of people need to read sheet music before they can play a song. Though there are some famous musicians who couldn't read sheet music. I think Hendrix was one of them. And look, he was one of the greatest guitar players of all time. So obviously being able to read music isn't everything. My 10th grade world literature teacher was a pretty cool guy since he saw a lot of creativity and potential in me, especially because I made a comic about the failed impeachment of Trump back in 2020. Made a comic about that, really. That's cool. Well, he was successfully impeached. It's just that he wasn't removed from office. And yeah, I wouldn't count on him being removed from office this term either. No matter how bad shit gets, it seems like Trump never faces consequences for anything. Like, I know the Epstein file release that was supposed to happen today was kind of a dud, but even if the Epstein files came out and it was like proven without a shadow of a doubt that like Trump molested kids or anything like that, I still don't think he would face adequate consequences for his actions. We just live in such a fucked up world where your power and how much money you've accrued can determine whether or not you actually face justice. I hear sirens in the background. They're coming for you, Mikey. I live in NYC. There's sirens everywhere. The song has the lyrics, I don't know if I'm a young man or if I'm old. Yeah, I can feel that sometimes. And Cog is an Australian progressive rock band. They're very underrated. Oh, progressive rock. They may be up my alley then. I've heard Sabrina Carpenter's music. It appeals to. Whoa, the chat just jumped again. What the fuck? It appeals to trendy teen girls. Yeah, I guess so. The Sabrina Carpenter fan I know, she's 24, same age as me. I don't know anything about her. I only like saw that one album cover where she's like kneeled over in front of a guy and like her hair is being grabbed or whatever. And that's only because there was like discourse online about that or whatever that I really didn't care about. But then in ninth grade, there was a student teacher that came in and took over for what? Chad jumped again. For a while, thankfully, he was normal. Um, yeah, during during 12th grade, that same AP English teacher I talked about, she was out for a few months because she gave birth. We had a substitute for a few months, and yeah, he was cool. He was a dude. He was nice. Kind of boring though, but he was a nice guy all in all. Remember in 11th grade, I had to take a health class that we only took for one semester that year, the first half of the year, I mean, because it was a requirement. For the first few weeks, we had actually the music teacher teaching that class, and he was kind of an asshole. I didn't take music at all in high school, so I didn't really know him, but none of us liked him. He was again an asshole, but and he was also, well, this is probably isn't much of an asshole thing, but he was going to give us assigned seats, and that was kind of to my dismay because I had a lot of fun where I was sitting. I was sitting around some kids I befriended in that class, and I didn't want to move seats. But I guess to my luck, I don't know what the fuck happened to him. I think he left the school for one reason or another. Maybe he got offered a better job. I don't know. But then he left, and then the discipline coordinator took over. But you might think that guy is an asshole, and he could be really tough, but he was also a funny guy. And when you're not on his bad side, he was actually pretty cool, and he just let us like talk and whatever, as so long as we did our work, and he just let us sit wherever. Kind of lucked out in that regard. The comic I made criticized the DNC officials for focusing more on that than the rise of COVID because I felt COVID was more important to handle at the time. Yeah, that happened right around or right before COVID really hit us hard. I remember late 2019, early 2020. And by the way, when I reach to the bottom of the chat, I'm gonna end the stream. I've already been doing this for over 2 hours, and my voice is giving out. Ooh. Currently, I have a really great art teacher. She's super nice, and she's let me work on my art assignments I haven't finished. I have a huge passion for art, so I take a while to finish my stuff. I had an art teacher who was kind of an asshole in sophomore year, though ironically, art was still my favorite class because of the kids I was sitting with at my table. It was a lot of fun. Even discreetly got high a few times in that class, and the teacher never knew. It was the last class of the day. On top of that, again, really fun. Admittedly, it was kind of fun pissing the teacher off sometimes. I first heard Cog in May 2018 with their songs Run and My Enemy, Pure Gold. And I can't exactly read sheet music, but I can hear notes of my favorite songs. Yeah, that's cool. Again, a lot of professional musicians they can't read sheet music, but they can still play very well. So again, reading music isn't everything. Even if a lot of teachers drill into your head that you need to read music. But that comic also criticized Trump for digging dirt on Biden's son at the time, and in one panel it said Trump is Nixon 2.0, which is much worse than Nixon. I listen to teen pop, but only old teen pop music. The pop made today is mid, especially Taylor Swift. She's really mid. And that's the thing with Taylor Swift. She's so huge, and I just don't get why. Like none of the songs I've heard from her are like offensively horrible. Maybe aside from Shake It Off. But no, most of the stuff I heard from her is just like shit that I don't care about at all. And I just don't get why it's so massive, honestly. It's just very generic in my opinion and nothing noteworthy, and I just don't get why it's so enormous. That's just me. I think I've said this before, but I have seen people like talk about one album of hers called Folklore. Even people within fan communities of bands and artists that are not even within those same universe as Taylor Swift, not even just in terms of talent, but I mean like in terms of genre as well. Mention that album and say it's like actually surprisingly good and a decent listen, and maybe I'll try that someday. I don't know. Not really too terribly interested, but yeah, everything I have heard from her is just meh, extremely meh. Late 90s to early 2000s pop were pretty overproduced, but they were still fun and catchy to me. The pop of today just feels really mid. I can't comment on a lot of the pop today because I don't listen to it because I've never really cared that much for pop. I mean, there's some exceptions, but overall, pop as a genre, I don't really care for all too much. I've always been a rock person, primarily. And with that said, yeah, I'm gonna wrap up the stream here. 2 hours and 12 minutes. Oof, my voice is really spent. Anyway, let me go through the usual spiel at the end here. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all who were in the chat here previously but are not here now. I appreciate everyone who participates in these streams and chats with me for however long they do, or in some cases, for some of the people here, chat with me for the full 2 hours. I don't know how you could bear listening to me ramble on for 2 hours, but I am eternally grateful that you are able to stomach me for 2 hours. Jesus. Yeah. Last stream of the year. I almost forgot to mention that. Yeah, my next stream is going to be in January of 2026. And yes, the worst YouTubers video. I'm almost finished with that. I should wrap that up this weekend, hopefully, more than likely. And of course, that's going to premiere December 31st. I know a lot of people get hyped over that. And that's why those videos are a joy to make. Oh, because a lot of people seem to be very excited for those. Anyway, let me end the stream for real now. Bye.